Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am very excited to be here. I feel very honored to be called upon to deliver the keynote address. In many ways, I feel this is like a trap because everything that has to be said has already been said. I mean, a panel with five very erudite people, one in the US, one in the island of Jersey, a member of parliament, a former VC, and my trainer, HR consultant. Really, there's not too much to say. But I want to thank the organizers for inviting me to be here. In 2015, I remember coming to a small room opposite Sasakawa to come and speak to about 30 people. And they called it Wiwik. At the time, Bernard Avle was in level 400 or so. 7 years down the line, I'm told we are 2,000. That means we've multiplied by over 50 times. And if you needed any evidence that you are in a world-class institution, this event is it. Because he's not only brought a former VC and your current MP, but he's live streaming across the world. And the evidence of the leadership is that the man is not even here. When I was about to set off from the hotel at 5:34 p.m., he was in New Zealand calling me by Zoom. And he was in the next day. So we are in Friday. He's already in Saturday. So it's such a privilege to be here. And I want you to know you are part of something that's growing. And it's very exciting. It's also humbling to see your former vice chancellor pour his heart out. When we were in Legon, we were afraid of our vice chancellors. When you see or hear of Akil Akbasoya, the name alone can cast out demons. Akil Akbas. You can't even spell it. I mean, and to have a VC sit here from 5 o'clock till this time, please put your hands together for Professor Gatti. It was very difficult to get an MP to come for an event. This is between 2000 and I know that it is more difficult now than it was in those days. Because last week I went to Parliament to interview somebody, and there were about 20 people sitting in the MP's lobby waiting to meet him. And they were passing so many bills. So for your MP to be here at this time, from 5 o'clock to this time, deserves a round of applause. You know, we see them before election and they vanish after election. So it's good we are seeing you after election. Long may it continue. I want to also thank my sister Doris. She's a busy person. And you don't live in Cape Coast. So you drove from Accra to here and you drive back. It's a sacrifice. God bless you. Put your hands together for her. And Kafui Day hosts a morning show on Ghana television, the station of the nation. And he's here not only today, he will be here tomorrow as well. He deserves not just a round of applause, but a shout. So, enough has been said about self-leadership. So, I don't really want to talk about that today. So, what I would do is to give you the 9 vital features of leadership, as I understand. Then I will talk about the times we are in. Because a man who does not know his time is like a fish caught in an evil net. That's Ecclesiastes. So no matter how excellent you are, you must understand the times. The Bible says the men of Issachar, they had understanding of the times. And they knew what Israel ought to do. And therefore their brethren were at their command. So you must understand the salience of the time. So understanding the time is not just knowing that it is 8:39. That is Chronos time. You must also understand the importance of being a student at UCC in 2021. Then we'll talk about 2 legs to develop strong leadership. And I hope to do that in less than 15 minutes because we have a lot. Listening to the panelists, I made some notes. I told the organizer I can't come with a prepared speech because by the time I finish, all my apple is gone. So when they were writing, I was rather writing my apple. Does that make sense? So sometimes you can prepare a nice speech. Then the people will come and say everything. Then your speech is just looking for. Most of what I will say here are things I observe as I listen to the stories. Professor Gatti, the MP, Kafui, the lady on the Zoom, Henry Baye, and Bernard. So not be original. I'm capturing them in a way that will give you something to remember. Leadership is a concept. Its definition is influence. Leadership is a concept. Its definition is influence. That's point number one. I'll come back to it. Point number two. Leadership is a key. Or leadership is a door. Leadership is a door. Its key is priorities. Let me start again. Leadership is a concept. It's defined as. Bernard is in New Zealand. He had a dream 2014. Sold it in 2015. 2021, he's not here. We are here. Influence. So influence is not about being in a place. It's about the power to cause a change. Never forget that. So a leader is not just somebody with post. It's somebody who can influence. We were feeling tired. Kwampa made everybody stand up. They were leading. Because they noticed that the room was getting dull. Whether you are VC or MP, you danced. That's leadership. So leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. In developing yourself, don't aim just for post. Think of your power to influence. Very important. Leadership is a concept. It's defined as influence. Number two, leadership is a door. And the key to it is priorities. Leadership is a door. To be an effective leader, you cannot do everything. If you listen to what we're saying, somebody wanted him to be a doctor. He preferred business. You don't become a leader by doing more things. You become a leader by doing fewer things. Effectiveness is not busyness. So the higher you go in a company, the fewer the things you do. That is not to say you should be lazy. It means the key to being effective is understanding priority. We are talking about self-leadership. So leadership is a door. And if you don't understand how to prioritize, you cannot be an effective leader. Number three, leadership is a meal. It's a meal. It's a preparation. It's a mix. It's like something I cooked last week on TV. Rice, onion, oil. Angwamu. Leadership is a mixture. Its most important ingredient is integrity. Leadership is a preparation. Its most important ingredient is not salt. It's integrity. Integrity. The root word is integer. Latin is an integer as against fraction. A fraction is two numbers. 1/2 is a fraction. -1 is an integer. It's a whole number. So the most important aspect of leadership is integrity. We don't have a Bernard on radio versus a Bernard in Medina and a Bernard in his house. If Bernard says we don't lie, he doesn't lie on air, he can't lie in the house, he can't lie to you. He's one person. He is not boiling at 1 degree in the house and 10 degrees on radio. So the most important ingredient in leadership is integrity. And I'll explain why that's important in this time. Number 4, leadership is a race. Leadership is a race. What gives you an edge is attitude. Leadership is a race. What gives you an edge is attitude. Before I came here, I was on a Vodafone skills panel. And the chief was HR officer, Ashi Okai. She said they interviewed some people and one guy was so great. But when they finished the interview, the best candidate, they asked the candidate, do you have any question for us? The candidate said, I don't have a question. But I want to tell you guys at Vodafone that you have to learn to work on your network because your network is very bad. I mean, the guy answered all the questions. He had everything. But his posture and attitude denied him the job. So leadership is a race. It's attitude. Am I making sense? So it's not about how smart you are. Your attitude can deny you. Number 5, leadership is a treasure. Leadership is a treasure. It's not cheap. Leadership is not cheap. Its price tag is called sacrifice. Its price tag is called sacrifice. When I was running for JCL Secretary of Legon Hall, I walked from room 1 to room 508, or the last room in all the blocks. We did it about 5 times. Explain the same point to everybody. You can ask Honorable the places and villages he has gone to, the funerals he has attended, the school fees he has paid, the banku he has had to cook just to get here. Leadership is a treasure. It's not cheap. The price tag is sacrifice. There are times he will send text to his kids that do your homework. I won't come home today because I'm meeting constituents and the candidate is coming. It cost him something to get there. He didn't just sit down and say, Lord, I want to be a leader. He paid the price. And in this era, we have lots of people who believe in the power of acceleration. There's a doctrine in church of divine acceleration that thinks that, oh, because I'm favored, everything can happen quickly. That undermines the law of process. Ladies and gentlemen, to be an effective, genuine leader, you must learn to pay the price. The price tag of leadership is sacrifice. He said, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross, despising the shame. Therefore, God has highly exalted him. So leadership is a treasure. The price tag is sacrifice. What number am I going to? Number 5 or 6? Number 6. Leadership is a person. Leadership is a person. Its most important quality is vision. Leadership is a person. Its most important quality is vision. That means that what makes leadership is vision. A leader is a person in front. Now, if you are in front of a trotro, when I was in Medina, when I'm taking a Trotsky to circle, I time the front, because me per front, and sometimes they say one front because some policeman has come, and sometimes the second front, you are sitting on an engine, is hot. But the advantage of front is that 2 things: you see before everybody else sees. That's vision. You see what people don't see. Now, what makes VC different from a normal lecturer is when a student comes to VC and complains, VC can see something about an institutional problem. A student may be complaining about a difficult exam, but a VC will see a systemic problem where he makes him see different things. So leadership is about vision. So a leader sees what others don't see, and a leader sees before everybody else sees. Am I making sense? So leadership is a person, and its most indispensable quality is vision. Vision. Now, you must have a vision for your life. Now, if you don't have a vision for your life, everywhere is a destination. Am I making sense? So, let's go through. Number 1, leadership is a concept. Its definition is what? Number 2, leadership is a door. The key to it is what? What was number 3? Leadership is a preparation or a meal. What is its most important ingredient? Number 4, leadership is a race. What is this? Number 5, leadership is a person. No, number 5. Leadership is a treasure. Its price tag is what? Number 6, leadership is a person. What is this indispensable quality? Let's go to number 7. I'm giving you 9. I'll run through quickly. Number 7, leadership is a reward. The quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. Leadership is a reward. The quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. There are times we are looking for somebody to do some work. The person who does the sacrifice gains the reward. Sometimes in choosing your children for reward, look at Jacob and Esau. The one who solved the man's hunger problem got the blessing. I'm not endorsing cheating, but the one who solved his hunger problem is the one who got the reward. Am I making sense? We are looking for problem solvers, not just problem analysts. Are we together? So that's why people will line up in front of leaders' offices asking for school fees. I'm not endorsing that. But if you're a leader, you must own problems and solve them. You can't say, oh, before you become in government, oh, the government is bad. Then when you become, so the people are bad. You say, oh, the people, they are lazy. The attitude is bad. Fix the country. Fix what you do that. You must own the problem. So leadership is a reward. Quickest way to gain it is solving a problem. Number 8, or is it number 7? Leadership is an odyssey. An odyssey. An odyssey is an eventful journey, sometimes filled with risks. Leadership is an odyssey, and the ultimate test at the end of the odyssey is positive change. That's leadership. It's an odyssey. It's not a straight line. It's complicated. It's like going from a trail. You are on an adventure island trying to solve many problems. What determines who succeeds is whether you bring positive change. Then the last point is what Doris said. Leadership is an enigma. Leadership is an enigma. You know why? Leadership is an enigma. It's an enigma because the most difficult person to lead is the one trying to lead. That's what Doris said. John Maxwell. Leadership is an enigma. The most difficult person to lead is yourself. So all the things I'm saying, and you are writing and thinking about what you do as a politician, what you do as a master. If you can't lead yourself, you have not started your leadership journey. If you can't lead yourself, you have not started your leadership journey. Now, how do you lead yourself? You must understand the times you are in and the demands of the time. The Bible says in 2 Timothy 3, that this know also, that in the last days, terrible times shall come. Now, I'm not a prophet of doom, but I want to say to you that the Legon or the UCC you attended today is a more difficult place than the Legon your father attended. I went to Legon in 2000. My father went in 1973. He was in the Kwafu Hall. There were only 2 in a room. And they used to serve them in the Kwafu Hall dining hall to eat rice. When I went to Legon, we were 4 in the outer room, 1 in the inner room. And each of the 4 had a pitcher. So we were 8 in the outer. The inner room had a pitcher. So my father's 2 became my 10. The dining hall he was eating in, we were praying there. It had become a church. It's a different era. We were eating at Commonwealth Hall under some tree. So the whole fork and knife thing was thrown out of the window. This was a different era. Now, I can't behave as if I'm in my father's era at Legon. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'll be a worse person, because it is in the fires of affliction that character is formed. So sometimes the more disadvantaged we are, the more precarious our situation. I mean, look at us. We are wearing masks. How many of our forefathers wore masks in a lecture hall? How many of them had to contend with the kind of strikes we are contending with? I mean, we were driving here. My driver was saying, how come the students are walking so far out of campus? Don't they have hostels? I said, I don't know. They are walking somewhere to look for a place. When in the 70s, I'm sure it was 1 man, 1 bed. Now we don't have 1 man, 1 bed. So it's a more difficult time. And to make matters worse, when I wrote my WASI in the year 1998, the whole candidature in my school were around 400. When I go to Presec today, there are over 1,500 students. I was at Swesco last week to speak to them. The whole school is 4,500. That means that for my 400, so the finalists were about 1,000. So if I am contending with 399 people for job, this person is contending with 999. So these are difficult times. It's a time characterized by lack of opportunity. And now people are saying, well, these youth, they are not hardworking. If you listen to our adults, oh, the young people, they are not serious. But they forget that we are in very difficult times. Now, the times you are in is encapsulated by a very interesting parable. Now, in 1870, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, the landline. Ladies and gentlemen, the landline needed 100 years to connect to 100 million people. Alexander Graham Bell. So it was up till 1977 that 100 million people were connected to the landline. That is the landline. Then the mobile phone was invented. What took the landline 100 years to connect 100 million people, the mobile phone needed only 15 years to do that in the 70s. So by the late 90s, over 100 million people were already on, getting into 2000. So the mobile phone gained 85 years on the landline. Now look at the internet. The internet needed 7.5 years to reach 100 million people. That means he's slashing down the time by another half. So what took Alexander Graham Bell 100 years, internet needed only 7.5 years. Now those of you who have phones who play Candy Crush on Facebook, Candy Crush needed just 1 year to connect to 100,000 people. What does it mean? Even though these are difficult times, we are competing with more people and there will be more competition for the job. It also means we can do a whole lot more. Because in those days, to learn anything, you have to be in a classroom. But today, if you have a good internet connection, you can learn how to code in your own room. So what took some people 100 years can take us a year if we will understand the times and apply ourselves. So I define our times by the word see. We are in COVID times, that's true. We are also in contentious times because of all the
different struggles. Look at Afghanistan. Look at the identity crisis. But ladies and gentlemen, we are also in condensed time. It means that you can do a whole lot more within the pressures that we are in. So whereas your parents had probably an easier time, I'm not saying everything around them was easy, because some of them walk for long kilometers, but the competition makes your life very precarious. I know when I leave here, some people call me and say, I want to do internship at City, because the only chance they may get to meet a general manager of any company is in this hall. Whereas if you graduated in the 80s or 90s, once you have a first or second upper, Unilever or Bank of Ghana is looking for you. It's no longer the same. But that is not a call for despair. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. What that means is that the more difficult the time, the more thorough the man that is prepared. So I want to end by giving you two cues. For you to be influential in the last days, in these times we are in, you need to have two very important ingredients. The first one, I call it capacity. I call it what? Capacity. Not kappa as in miwo ahodin, but capacity. Capacity. Your ability. What makes the internet or what makes the computer more powerful than a calculator is capacity. It's called processing power. It means a lot more can happen now. Why? Because we are in the era of the network. If you want to understand the times, study the biggest businesses in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, 20 years ago, the top 10 businesses in the world were Walmart, they were ExxonMobil, they were large companies which were in the extractive industry. Only IBM was a technology company 20 years ago among the top. There was Coca-Cola, there was McDonald's. These are global behemoths that needed a footprint to be big. 20 years down the line, the top companies in the world have nothing to do with extractives. They have everything to do with the network. Their name is Facebook, the name is Google, the name is Apple. These are companies built on the network. What does it mean? What size could not do for us, networking can do. It means don't come to UCC and be an ivory tower. Don't come and be a one-man mountain trying to do everything by yourself. Because what the network teaches us is that if we can connect and work together, we are sitting in Cape Coast. The convener is in New Zealand. One of the keynote speakers is in the US. And somebody is from the island of Jersey. And we had a sensible conversation. We must learn from what we are seeing. It means that you must begin to understand networking. That means you cannot come for 4 years and just go for lectures. You must know how to offer yourself training in leadership. Organize an event. I'm not saying go on a beach trip to have a frolic, but leadership is not learned just in a book. You have to apply yourself. When I was on Legon campus, I was like your man in your MP. Everything I was there. LPU, I was the secretary. Radio Universe, student coordinator. We were doing a lot of things. Why? Because you must put yourself in a situation to learn. If you just follow the course outline, you will get a certificate, but that is not the real preparation for life. He ran for Casford SRC president. He learned a thing or two about defeating Roxanne Dafiameto. So when he met the MPP person in Cape Coast North, he used that same lesson to beat the person. So even though these are difficult times, I came to urge you, even if you are in the final year, don't leave UCC without learning how to volunteer. Some of you are saying, well, I can't get an internship because all the companies don't want to ask to get me. It doesn't matter. Go and teach in a village school. Do it for free for 2 weeks. Learn the difficulty of teaching class 4 students mathematics. Learn to face resistance and rejection, because that may be the only thing you know to go into that interview. Don't say, well, no company wants. Am I making sense or making noise? Don't say any company doesn't want to employ me. A valid key to entry into jobs can be volunteerism. So if you have just 1 semester to go, even 1 week, you can say after you graduate, before national service posting, you will do teaching for free in some village school. If you prepare yourself in that way, you will be getting ready for the future. So we are talking about capacity. There are many capacities a person must build before they leave campus. Because you are in a good university, I won't talk about mental capacity, because all the things you learn are training your mental capacity. So mental capacity is great, but that's not enough. You also need to improve your emotional capacity. Now, how do you improve emotional capacity? Emotional capacity comes through failure. Because if you can't deal with failure here, when you go to the world of work and they reject you for interview, you will just say, let me commit suicide and die. So you need to know, and I'm not endorsing or glorifying suffering. What I'm saying is that some of the experiences we go through here are key for our emotional development. Those of you who do the bit of physics, you need to know this, that if you want to produce real power in any system, you must put the system under pressure. And I tell you not, this place is a place of pressure. When I was in Legon, my friends, I used to say, Charlie, UCC is a place of pressure. They said it was University of Constant Crisis, because the place was tough. But guess what? Some of the best leaders I have in my contemporaries came from this place. Even in my company, the guys who came here, they are more mature, they speak with more wisdom. Some of them were older, yes, because they did training college before they came. But the more pressure the system put on them, the more power it generated on their inside. So be grateful you are in a school like this, because this is the offering. This is the bakery for your preparation for leadership. So we thank God for UCC, because it's not an easy place to come. Again, when we were in Legon, I remember there was a big strike in the early 2000s, because the UCC students said to get an A, you had to get 80. In Legon, if you get, I think 65 or 70, it was A. And my roommate's brother was rusticated from this school because he led a demonstration against that issue of A being 80. But guess what? Most of those guys who came out of that difficult system are doing great things. People who had it easy may not have a great future. So I'm not saying let the university punish you. I mean, think about the guy who gave him an A. I mean, if he hadn't gone for that guy, he may not have been here. So guys, your emotional capacity is key. And some of the outward things, I interviewed two people about the private school versus public school. Most of my phone callers said, in Ghana, those who go to GIS and SOS, they can think creatively. They can be more whatever. Then the university professor called from the medical school. He said, when it comes to medicine, what the most important criteria is resilience. And he says the guys who go to the Dadabi schools, yes, they can think and speak English, they can speak Greek and things. But when they are in the 5th semester and the pressure is on, some of them give up and say, don't do it again. But the guys who went to Legon and UCC and these local Ghana schools, they be tough. So even though the lecturer is pushing them, they are also learning. So you are here to gain emotional capacity. Don't downplay it, people. UCC, you may never come back here. And I tell you, it's not the certificate that you take to the world, it's the lessons. There are people who are succeeding who don't know where their university certificate is, but the lesson they got is still in their system. Am I making sense? So build your emotional capacity. I describe capacity as a building, and I describe character as a tree. So the second root of what you need to develop is your character. The problem with us is that whilst we in the continent of Africa are very religious, we try to focus on character. But some people have developed capacity. Now let me give you a simple example that will make it work. To walk effectively, you need 2 legs. So to lead effectively, you need 2 things. You need to develop your capacity. That is your ability. Your capacity is your entry into excellence. So Kafri, if you are recruiting a driver to drive you from Cape Coast to Accra, you will not recruit him because he smiles or because he speaks in tongues. You recruit him because he knows how to drive. So the entry into any space is capacity. Am I making sense? So that's what UCC is giving you. It's giving you capacity. But Kafri, if you employ that driver now and you give him 100 cedis to buy petrol, then you reach Yamaransa, the petrol is finished. You say, and then the buyer, petrol, there's a leakage in the engine. He has stopped the 80 cedis and he has used only 20 Ghana. So what his driving capacity give him, his character will make him lose it. So this is the issue. We at the UCC, we are being given capacity training. But I tell you this, it is the external activities that will form your character. Because you can get a job, but without character, you can't sustain the job. So in addition to capacity, we must also grow character. Am I making sense to somebody? And character formation must be deliberate, which is what they've been talking about. They say you must know yourself. Don't allow the little foxes. Procrastination. Now, the most common ailment among young people today is called distraction. Distraction. You pick up a phone that you want to read an email. When you pick up the phone, Manchester United has signed Cristiano Ronaldo. You are on foot mob. Before you know, some lady is dancing, twerking on Facebook. You are there. Next time you are on some website. I thought I was reading my lecture notes. Before you know, it's 12 o'clock and you are chatting. It's distraction. So even though this is a powerful tool, it's also a great distraction. So when we are talking about character, it's not just being honest, it's also being disciplined. Because discipline is the key to success. I need to say something about discipline. It's one of the missing links in our development. If you study development, countries that have developed, from Singapore, I'm talking of the countries that came in our era, Singapore, South Korea, China, a lot of them, they imposed a certain regime of discipline. And I'm not saying let's go back to military rule, but trust me, a disorderly, indisciplined people cannot be economically successful. Check it. So even in the Western world, which is very free, society is very structured. There are speed cameras everywhere. The way you drive on Accra Cape Coast, you can't drive like that to London, Birmingham. They will catch you. You will not see a policeman asking for bribe, but they will write a letter to you and it will be deducted from your direct debit. Ask MP, he will tell you. So we cannot develop as a nation if we hate discipline. And I want to say this in closing, that the most important quality we need in this era is discipline, because that is the soul of an army. That is what makes us stand out, because there's so much lawlessness in our societies. Young people are raising their voice against authorities, and they are not learning the constraints of discipline. And without discipline, we are not going anywhere. Now, we are not all going to do military service. In some countries, before you are 21, you must be a soldier. So in Israel, before you become any citizen in any capacity, you must go to 1 year of military training. There's a place for that, because there's so much indiscipline in this country, and there's so much indiscipline among us. And indiscipline is not just the way we talk, even the way we arrange our time, because discipline is also the judicious use of time, energy, and resources. So if you can't use your time, you waste your energy. And if you can't use your energy properly, you dissipate resources. So one of the reasons why we waste resources is because we are indisciplined. And so please, this generation has many crises. Our children are looking up to you to help them. But you must allow the fires of UCC to shape you into a disciplined person. That is the best way to lead yourself. It's not about just getting a position. If you can control your desires, if you can manage your time and subject yourself to discipline, I came to announce to you that the future we will create is better than the present we enjoy. I thank you for your attention. I know that the next time I come to this university, there will be testimonies. UPC is going to produce some of the greatest leaders in this country. And the numbers we see here, and the discipline of all of you in mask. I've been to places where by the time it's 20 minutes, will be a uni mask. People are walking around. Look at the order. It tells you there's something going on which is good. We don't need to put it all out there for people to see. Trust me, you will miss this day one day. So let's not just condemn the leadership. There's something going on which is good. For you to sit from 5 to almost 9 p.m. without complaining for you want to drink water, it tells me something has been placed in you. So it gives me hope. The final thing I'll say, you cannot save a generation that you are mentored by. So our children who are internet generation, they are all learning online. Ask Kafui. We who will help them must discipline ourselves. If every time you go home, you are using your phone, your child also sees you uses the phone. If you want to help your child, because the internet is what they know, you must learn to take yourself out of that system. Am I making sense? Because otherwise, you will become a victim of what you condemn. So, technology is great, guys. But let me tell you, it is a big danger for us. Because in as much as it gives us opportunity, it's also our biggest threat. But I know you are wise. And I know God will help us. I want to thank the organizers one more time. Thank you very much for your time. I'll leave it here. God bless you. Long live UCC.